All right, so everybody, thanks again for listening. If you're a first timer, please subscribe and share this interview. We have a special guest from the New York Conservative Party, the leader, Jerry Kassar. He's been on before, and we're going to talk a lot about the biggest city, the Big Apple, and what's going on in the city and even in the state of New York. So, Jerry, thanks so much for coming on again. Greatly appreciate you.
You're very welcome. I understand from where you reside, you might have had a little bit of a problem with the hurricane, and I'm very sorry for you and so many other people I know in Florida.
We have a lot of former New Yorkers and Northeasterners in general in this neck of the woods, so we appreciate that. And we're still trying to get back in shape here, but we're moving very steady as it goes, and we have some good people that are helping out. Thank God for that. We're gonna move into this. So, Jerry, first of all, last time we were on here, you made a prediction which I was hoping was true, and it seems like it's gonna come true. I shouldn't say it has come true yet, but you said Lee Zeldin was gonna win this race. He was 23 points down at that time with from Kathy Hochul. Now he's neck and neck. How did this come true?
Well, I think there were a lot of first of all, our polling never showed we were 23 points down. The worst polling we ever had back then was 16 points. So let me just say to you, we did not start from the same point that, the liberals want us to think we were at. But basically, there were a lot of undecided, and a lot of those undecided made a decision in the last couple of weeks. They were making that decision to go towards Lee as more people were being pushed onto the tracks of trains in the city, as inflation continues to rise in New York State. What is surprising here is that the lack of desire by the Democratic Party until like the last 2 days to react to the reasons New Yorkers are disgusted with its current government. So what did Lee do? Lee simply, as Hochul, like Nero, fiddled while New York State burnt, Lee Zeldin came in to be available to rescue the state. He is a legitimate alternative, and the voters are beginning. They understand that the race is exactly a dead heat. This is a Tuesday. Tonight, he's debating her on Spectrum in New York State, and it will be a very important evening for voters to make a final decision on where they want to go. There aren't that many undecided, frankly. The undecided in this race right now are only like 9-10%. Everyone else has made a decision that they're going to vote, and it's even.
What do you expect from the debate tonight?
What do I expect from the debate? I expect that that Lee will press her on crime and lack of a response, and I believe Lee will press her on the horrible economy. And I think Lee will press her on being completely out of touch with many New Yorkers. What I would assume she would do would be the standard rhetoric from the Democratic Party, which is going to be about Donald Trump or abortion. And Lee has clearly shown that he has answers that make sense on those issues, where she has shown nothing whatsoever that relates on how she's going to deal with crime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw the crime that happened right outside of Lee's house. This is a congressman. There was crime right outside. The kids were home, and we went through that story. Obviously, the train tracks issue, that's a big thing. Thankfully, I believe they caught that guy. You would know better than me on that. But
well, I mean, that guy they caught. But we're talking now 2 or 3 incidences a week. They don't catch them all, and frankly, sometimes when they catch them, the person has already died. Yeah. So I mean, the victim. So I mean, it's they decided that they wanted to put 1,200 cops temporarily using overtime onto those trains. Well, that's not going to work for very long. Part of the problem of the terrible laws in the state, like cashless bail, which you already indicated in over the summer that she wouldn't even deal with this year, that was disgraceful. And other parts of it are about, you don't need 1,200 cops in overtime. You need 1,200 more cops.
Yeah.
So
do you think he's gonna? But is he gonna get rid of Bragg if he wins this? Because he has to go.
He has explained. So he has explained how he can legally do it. It does say in the state constitution that the governor can remove a district attorney on appropriate charges. the world has in writing memos from District Attorney Bragg, which indicate that he was instructing his prosecutors to ignore New York state law. That is a charge that is high enough in stature to cause a governor to remove a district attorney. They're going to fight him on it, but this guy is a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. He knows only one direction to march, forward. So I feel very confident that Lee Zeldin will get what he wants when he's in Albany, a place he served for 4 years in the New York Senate before going down to Washington for what I guess 5 terms now.
You know, I want to talk about this because we've talked about crime throughout this conversation so far. And again, for people that are listening, Jerry Kassar, New York Conservative Party, definitely check him out. Jerry, you know, let's talk more about crime. What does Governor Zeldin need to do as far as crime, economic development, and also healthcare, whether it's COVID or this now there's this RVS that these young kids are getting sick now all the time with, and some are, you know, dying with. So I feel like those are kind of the issues: crime, economic development, and also healthcare. How can a Governor Zeldin administration get this stuff under control in the state?
Well, I mean, first he has to immediately look for where in the area of executive orders he can issue in terms of public safety emergency
Yeah.
to push back at some of the laws in place. But he would also, and governors do this, they submit to the legislature programs. So he would have to submit program bills that reverse a number of these items that, like cashless bail, and among others, frankly, that have deteriorated public safety in this state. I mean, that becomes a debate with the legislature, but they're going to have to defend themselves on why they want to allow the current state of affairs in New York to continue. As far as the economy is concerned, the governor of New York has enormous authority over the state budget. He actually has far more authority than the state legislature on the budget. I am assuming that he will make moves within the budget to reduce debt. I'm assuming he will make moves within the budget to reduce the burden of taxes in the state, which are I believe, the highest per capita taxes in the nation. I am assuming that he will work with the New York congressional Republicans who are going to be in the majority to push back at a bunch of Biden's policies. I mean, these are assumptions on my part, but they're logical assumptions. Lee Zeldin's got, as you know, twin daughters. He is him and his wife are extraordinarily involved in the education issues relating to his daughters. He's a very real parental rights candidate. And I know he is essentially against many of these mandates. I mean, he believes in people having obviously options, but the mandates he has been outspoken against in the educational system now going back for months. Certainly believes kids should be in the classroom. So I would assume as governor, you will see his public stances become his public stances as a private citizen become his public stances as governor.
But the question goes, how do you get past these New York liberals in the state Senate and the state House when they're, gonna, go back and forth with Zeldin? It's not going to be an easy game.
Well, winning is a mandate. I mean, that's going to be, whether you win by 1 vote or I mean, the Democrats thought they were going to win a couple of months ago by 25 points. They lose, and they're also going to lose seats in the Senate and Assembly. Mark my words, since we were doing this last time.
Yeah.
You'll probably see a 25 to 30% increase in the number of Republicans in the state legislature. They won't take back any majorities, but that's also a signal. That's basically the way politics works. You send in messages, and if they want to make the Republican cause stronger because they continue with these obscene laws that really have enhanced crime, made people not be afraid of being arrested anymore, then sure, we're going to have a problem. But a lot of the legislature is about self-preservation. They have 2-year terms, and they're going to be spending 2 years listening to Lee explaining to the world, much bigger bully pulpit than any legislator, on why these people need to go.
I want to go to these audience questions from people that have been listening to the program. Heard you were coming back on to ask you these questions. You know, New York's obviously a big state. A lot of people don't talk about the upstate, they just focus on the city. I know you're all over the place when talking to people, and you know, Politico's from the city and upstate. Can we talk about other elections besides the governor's race where you think that Republicans can really make some headways, you know, people as far as
The
candidates?
Republicans are going to net out in a number of extra congressional seats in the state, all around the state. In that we
Okay.
started the year with 8, we're going to end up with 10, 11, or 12 seats. Now,
Wow.
we started the year with 8 out of 27. There's 26 seats now in New York State because of reapportionment. We're going to end up, like I said, out of 26 with 10, 11, or 12 seats.
Hmm.
So right there, and they're all over the place. I mean, they're not in really, they're all over the place. They're on Long Island, they're
Yeah.
in the Mid Hudson, they're certainly upstate. So, I could go through individual seats, but that's what'll happen. It'll be 10, 11, or 12 New York House Republicans out of 26 seats.
Another audience question, and I'm just going to read this right off the email I received. Buffets with different kind of meals that these people like, big screen TVs, Xboxes, free beds, free laundry, free clothes.
This is a
We're,
prison. You're talking about a prison. You're talking about what the Democrats in New York State have done to prisons. They've removed that there's no more solitary confinement, or there's minimal. I mean, in jails, there's no more. No matter how violent the criminal is, there's all sorts of these amenities. I mean, they don't put it up on hotels.com, but there are all sorts of amenities. And you know what? It still costs the taxpayers whatever it is, 60, 70,000 or more. I don't even know anymore per year. I think it's a lot more than that to house these individuals. And frankly speaking, I wish they would house more of them.
well, Jerry, I was, we could talk about prisons, but I was talking about the illegals and Eric Adams.
Oh, you're into the illegals. I was talking about prisons.
I was
Illegals.
talking about the
I'm sorry. I'm
illegals.
sorry. I apologize. Illegal aliens are just that. There's two things that need to be done on this issue, which is not a state issue per se, but there are two things.
Right.
They need more. They need to go back to the Trump rule where you kept those looking for asylum on the other side of the border, and you need far more of these immigration type judges to sort this stuff out.
Yeah.
But the first thing they got to do is keep them. There are some legitimate asylum seekers. I mean, I don't know if it's 10% or 15%, but it isn't anything like the numbers you're seeing coming over. So that's the first thing you would do. As far as them when they're into the country, when they ship them up to New York, we're not happy with them being shipped up to New York. But at the same time, I could also understand why a governor in Florida or Texas or Arizona might say, how am I supposed to handle 1 million people coming over the border? That's a whole other issue. But sure, that's
Well,
there were
I was
they got to go
watching the.
back.
I'm saying that because I was watching the news and I was seeing these things too, that they're getting special buffets made to their diet, Xboxes, big screen TVs, they get the laundry, they get the clothes. It's like there's people that have, homeless on the streets over there. They have mental health issues. They can't get health care. They can't get any shelter in the shelter. But these people that are coming in are getting all these amenities. They're staying at hotels
In New York,
too.
hotels in New York City, the mayor is negotiating with one of the cruise lines to have a cruise ship pull up to a dock on Staten Island, and they will be living on the cruise ship. Remember, in New York City, because of the sanctuary status, they're not contained. They can leave and go within the communities and all. They are not treated in New York City as having entered the country illegally. They are treated as essentially people on an immigration line, you might say, until certain things get sorted out. And there's where a mistake is made for real, because you don't know how many individuals are sneaking over those lines that are criminals or even terrorists. I mean,
Yeah,
how many terrorists do you need to come into the country for you to think it's too many?
I hear you. But Eric Adams was a policeman. I thought that he was supposed to be, and a lot of people that voted for him thought he might be a law and order candidate. He's turned out to be one of the worst mayors that, in my lifetime of 33 years. I mean, he's a disaster. I mean, there's no law, there's no order over there. What is the problem with this guy? He just seems like he likes to go out to nightclubs. He's going to the 40/40 club with Jay-Z and hang around over there. What the hell is going on?
Unfortunately, being a borough president is not a good signal of how you'll be a mayor because borough presidents don't really have any responsibilities. So, what am I going to tell you? He is basically what I guess he claimed to be. I do believe he understands law and order issues better, but obviously he's been quite unsuccessful in dealing with it.
He seems like he's a stooge for the left in plain English.
I think he's I'm not so sure for the left. I think he is a stooge for the Democratic Party clubhouses.
Okay, fair
I think
enough.
he's basically a clubhouse mayor.
Fair enough. I hope that, you said this in the last podcast, and I'll get to the last question after this. I hope and pray, like you said in the last podcast, that they can find somebody that can beat this guy in 2 years because it's really going to be a travesty if not. I mean, that city's in deep trouble, whether Zeldin gets in or not. I mean, he can't be Jesus. I mean, what's true is true. He can only do so much.
I agree, but I mean, for starters, in New York State, change is needed in New York State. Going to get some change on the congressional level. There will be more Republicans in the legislature, but the major change has to be governor. If you change the governor, you can do a lot of stuff. I mean, and it also forces a mayor to start responding to the governor's view of the city. So Zeldin is from Shirley, Long Island, which is, he can get into Queens in 40 minutes. I mean, he's in the city an enormous amount of time. Lee Zeldin knows New York City, so it's not going to be one of those situations where, like Hochul, spent a few days a year in New York City. He knows New York City.
What you were in the thick of things as far as politics. So my question to you is, as far as the last question and a half, I'll say, what's next for Andrew Cuomo? We haven't really heard that much. I heard there's money being pushed around behind the scenes. Is he going to go for some kind of position down the road? Is he just waiting around? I mean, he's not like 20 years old. I mean, he's in his middle 60s. I mean, he doesn't
He's
have,
60, he's 60, 64, 65. So
yeah.
basically, he's got a podcast. Any polling you see him in the state has him 20% favorable, 60% unfavorable, 20% undecided. With those type of polling numbers, his best bet is to lay low. Lay low.
Yeah. But do you see him making a run for anything down the road, or is he just done?
Only if he wants to lose badly.
Really? Wow.
I'm saying 20% say they have a favorable opinion, 60%. I don't know anybody who likes him.
I mean, I think personally he's better than Hochul. I mean, that's
Yeah, but
that's not
but I
saying
mean,
much, but
I mean, that's like saying a lion bite is better than a tiger bite. I mean, what the hell? What difference does it make? So,
I hear you. Let's end with this last question, and I appreciate your time again, Jerry Kassar, New York Conservative Party. Definitely check out the party, and obviously, New York, the biggest city in the world, and the state is, where a lot of things as far as the liberal agenda take place. If we can put some stops in the stopgap there, then we can maybe make this country a little bit better than what it is right now. So, kicking around the last question, I mean, we've seen crime, we've talked about it throughout this conversation, really ramp up in New York, but all around the country, but specifically on the city. Why do you feel like it's out of control? Is it the cashless bail issue? Is it, the economic issues where people just don't have food and, money to even get
I mean,
things?
they all contribute. I definitely believe these lax state laws have allowed people to stay on the streets that are extraordinarily dangerous. And as the economy sours, you will also have, I wouldn't say the city is filled with any desperate people, but you have people that have a far greater concern. There are still plenty of jobs in the city. It's not hard to get a job in the city if you want to work, but there certainly are people that have found, robbing the guy on the street at 9:30 in the morning on Madison Avenue is a better way than to work in a business. But there's a lot of problems in New York City based and frankly, the failure of the government to recognize this and to address it, not with draconian ways, but just simply with common sense approaches, is frightening. It's literally frightening, and it will eventually drive all the good people out. Just will drive them all out eventually. Not yet, but soon. We'll be Detroit. Nobody wants to hear that, but we'll be Detroit.
A lot of people left the city again through the COVID lockdowns and the vaccine mandates. A lot of people left. They're down in, Florida and my neck of the woods, and they've went to Texas and other places where there wasn't those, no draconian mandates.
So, I mean, I'm tonight. I'm supposed to actually go to Spectrum to do some stuff, and I mean, they wanted a copy of my vaccination card. I mean, why don't they just look around? Nobody's wearing masks. Most people get vaccinated here, and everybody doesn't. But it's just, let's get real.
For people listening, that was Jerry Kassar, the New York Conservative Party. Definitely check him out. Jerry, where can they find more about you on social media? Can you throw out the website?
They can. Well, I think the best place to go is our website, cpnys.org. cpnys.org. That's the best place. I've got some stuff on Wikipedia or whatever, but the best place is to go cpnys.org. You can Google me and you will find a lot of statements I've made, but they're also on the site.
Right. cpnsy.org.
CPNYS, Conservative Party, New York State.org. And you can also actually just put in your search engine, New York State Conservative Party, and all sorts of things will come up.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Again, Jerry Kassar, New York Conservative Party. Jerry, we'd look to have you on after the election to talk about what the real results are. Hopefully, there is a little bit of a balance back in New York again. We're missing that in a lot of places around the country.
There'll be balance. There'll be more balance in New York. We're going to either have a good or a very good night. And the same thing's going to go in the nation. Much of this is Democratic Party doing, but you take it as you get it, right?
I agree 100%. Jerry Kassar, New York Conservative Party. Thanks so much for your time. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.